while millions of people are walking into rooms completely blind, missing every micro-expression, every tell, every silent scream for help or deception hidden in plain sight, there's a small group of people who see everything. And, according to behavioral psychology, this isn't some magical gift they were born with. Their brains might actually be wired to pick up on patterns that everyone else filters out. Stay with me, because what I'm about to tell you will completely change how you see every conversation, every first impression, every awkward silence for the rest of your life, and probably explain why you've always felt like you were missing half of what was actually being said. Here's the thing nobody talks about. Not being able to read people doesn't make you socially awkward. It doesn't mean you lack intuition. And it definitely doesn't mean something's wrong with you. But there is something fascinating happening in the brains of people who naturally read others, and it's completely different from the 80% of people who walk through conversations like they're reading a book with half the pages torn out. Let's start with the obvious question. Why do so many people miss what's right in front of them? Humans are prediction machines. For thousands of years, your brain's main job was survival, not social nuance. It learned to filter out irrelevant information so you wouldn't get overwhelmed. And in modern social settings, that filtering system is basically a blindfold with better branding. When someone crosses their arms, most brains file it under cold or comfortable and move on. But the pattern readers, their brains don't filter. They flag. They notice the micro-tension in the shoulders, the 0.2-second delay before the smile reaches the eyes, the foot pointed toward the exit while the face is still nodding along. Their brain literally processes social interaction like a crime scene investigator while everyone else is just having a chat. But here's where it gets interesting. People who naturally read people often have what psychologists call higher baseline social vigilance. They're not paranoid. They're just pattern hungry. They're more likely to say, I don't need to be told what someone is feeling. I already know. And there's actual research on this. A 2018 study found that people with high interpersonal accuracy showed way more activation in the posterior, superior temporal sulcus, the brain region that tracks intention and movement. Translation: they don't just see what someone is doing, they see what someone is about to do. But wait, it gets weirder, because what happens in the brain of someone who can't read people during a conversation is legitimately concerning. You know that feeling when you're talking to someone and you have no idea if they're bored, angry, or just thinking about lunch? That's your brain's social prediction system flatlining. And it's not your fault. Here's the part that changes everything. People who are naturally good at reading others, they get something most people don't: a dopamine hit from accuracy. Every time they correctly predict a mood shift, every time they catch a lie before it's spoken, every time they sense tension in a room before anyone else, their brain rewards them. It's literally addictive. Studies using fMRI scans show that accurate social prediction activates the same reward centers as solving a puzzle or winning a bet. And here's the kicker: the uncertainty is what makes it so powerful. You don't know if someone's being genuine. That unpredictability keeps the dopamine flowing. It's intermittent reinforcement, the most addictive reward schedule known to psychology. The same principle that makes slot machines so effective. But here's the difference. People who can't read people, their dopamine systems simply aren't triggered by social prediction. And this might be genetic. Research from the University of Cambridge suggests that variations in oxytocin receptor genes can predict how much someone naturally tunes into social cues. Think about that. Your complete confusion about whether your boss is actually happy with your work or just being polite might literally be in your DNA. But there's another layer. People who struggle to read others experience something psychologists call social opacity. When a conversation goes well, they think, I got lucky. When it goes badly, I messed up. Notice the pronoun switch. It's always internal, always their fault. People who read people well, they're more likely to think they were distracted or they weren't being clear. Their self-concept is more stable. They don't absorb every social misfire as a personal failure. Their self-esteem is protected by their ability to externalize, to see that sometimes it's not you, it's them. Now, before the comments section explodes, I'm not saying one way is better than the other. But I am saying there are legitimate psychological differences. For some people, not reading people well is actually a defense mechanism. Maybe you grew up in a household where reading the room meant danger. Maybe you learned to tune out social signals to protect yourself. Maybe you're pushing back against a world that demands constant emotional labor. Maybe you just find small talk exhausting and would rather be direct. Your social blindness might have a backstory, or maybe you just haven't been taught. Both are valid. But here's the part that explains so much about why some people seem to float through social situations while others feel like they're drowning in them. It comes down to how you process information. Socially intuitive people find meaning in subtext. The hesitation, the eye contact pattern, the shift in vocal pitch. It's compelling because it's a puzzle with real stakes. People who struggle to read people often find that subtext meaningless. They think, why would I emotionally invest in decoding signals when I could just ask directly? They're not wrong, but neither are the pattern readers. It's just two different approaches to the same human need: connection. Here's what researchers call observational investment versus direct engagement. People who read others well build one-sided maps of everyone around them. They know who is insecure, who is hiding something, who is performing confidence they don't feel. People who don't read people well, they prefer investing emotional energy where there's reciprocity, where their care is seen, where they're participants, not analysts. Neither is superior. They're just different strategies for navigating the human experience. Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who studied optimal experience, found that flow states, those moments of complete absorption, can be achieved through countless activities. For some, it's decoding a room. For others, it's creating something, solving a problem, or simply being present. And here's what's really interesting. People who don't obsess over reading others often report feeling more authentic in their interactions. They're not spending every conversation performing mental gymnastics. They're just showing up. There's something quietly radical about that. So, what does all this mean? If you've always felt like you're missing social signals, you're not broken. You're not socially inept. You're just different. Your brain's filtering system, your empathy allocation, your reward calibration, they're all tuned differently. And that's perfectly okay. The next time someone says, you just don't get it, and you genuinely don't, remember, you're not missing out on some fundamental human experience. You're just playing a different game, one that might, just maybe, have higher stakes. Because when you do choose to see, you'll see everything. If this resonated with you, you're probably going to love why quiet people are actually processing information completely differently than everyone else, and why that might be your biggest advantage. Click one of these videos to find out why you think a little differently than the crowd. Subscribe to The Inner to watch 26 and drop a comment beret.